Yo, what is going on, guys? Today I got a juicy DK build I want to bring you. So starting off, we're going to be a Dark Elf for the race of choice. For the races that could work well with this build would be an Imperial or Nord, but I definitely recommend Dark Elf as the primary race. And that's just simply because it gives you a lot of good stats, such as max Magicka and Stamina, which are both very useful. And increase your weapon and spell damage, once again very useful. And resist flames here, increase your flame resistance by 5,000. This actually makes you quite a bit tankier to flame damage, which is very nice since there is quite an abundance of flame damage in the game. Onto our stats here, running 24 points into health and 40 into stamina. This is just simply so we hit 29,000 health and 22,000 stamina with 17k Magicka. Now if you do want some more health, you could definitely flop some points from stamina over into some max HP here to break the 30k threshold if you want, but I don't feel like I need it, so I like to sit around 29k, but you can do it whatever you want. My mag and stamina recovery will be 1500 and 1300. Spell and weapon damage is 4500, 33% crit, 6300 spell and physical penetration, 19k physical and spell resist with 1800 crit resist. For our Mundus stones of choice, I chose to run the Atronach here, and that's just simply because I enjoy the extra mag recovery that this gives me, but your Mundus is completely up to you. If you want some more damage, you can go with something like the Warrior. If you want some more survivability, you can go with the Lady. Choose whatever Mundus stone you want, it's completely personal preference. Smoke Bear Haunch is the food of choice here. If you are poor and cannot afford this fancy food, then Jewels of Mistral is another great option to go for. It's the purple version of this food, and it basically does the exact same thing as Smoke Bear Haunch. It's just a lot cheaper. And then Vampire Stage 3 is a must for every PvP build, and that is just simply because of the Undeath passive. Reduces your damage taken by up to 30% based on your missed health. This is insane because this makes you insanely tanky when you're relatively low on HP, making you very hard to kill. Our stats fully buffed up will be 6k spell and weapon damage, 2700 matter recovery, 2300 stamina recovery, with 28k physical and spell resistance. Our critical damage is 16%, and on our back bar we have 6.5% increased healing with 6% critical healing. Onto our sets here. For our first set, it will be Wretched Vitality, just simply because of the sustain it gives. You can run Daedric Trickery here instead, but I just prefer Wretched over Daedric. That's just a personal preference thing, but Daedric is also very good. So if you want to run Daedric instead of Wretched, then be my guest. For the trait, Sturdy with Max Tamglyph, that's just the best thing to run with a shield. And then our sword will be powered with a weapon damage enchantment. You can run Poisons here instead. And you can also run defending if you don't want to run powered. I just prefer powered because it increases my healing, which I really do like on my back bar, but defending or powered, both of them are very good. For our front bar here, we are running Master Perfected Maces, 1 Nirnhone, 1 Sharpen with Flame and Poison enchantments. They did change Master Dual Wield this patch, so now it only deals 936 damage, but it scales off your weapon and spell damage. So for me, when it's fully buffed up, it's more like 1400. About 250 less than it was in the previous patch, so it is a bit of a nerf, but it still does a ton of damage, so I still think it's worth running. Master was already very overtuned before, and I just think it's still very strong even with the current nerf. And the reason why you run 1 poison and 1 flame enchantment is simply because of this DK passive right here. Combustion increases the damage of your burning and poison status effects by 40%, and whenever you apply a burning or poison to an enemy, you restore 1000 Magicka and stamina, so it's just nice to help with your extra sustain. Our mythic of choice will be Sea Serpent Coil. This is simply because of the major berserk it gives you, along with the major courage, increasing your damage done by 10% and your weapon and spell damage by 430. This is nice because it gives you a big boost in your overall damage and it helps you with your overall one-shot potential. If you don't want to run Sea Serpent Coil, Death Dealer Fate is an amazing alternative. Or if you're thinking, or if you want to be spicy, you can run Torque here, the new mythic. For our other set here, it will be Scavenging Demise. This set is very good on a DK in my opinion because you cannot block Shattering Rocks. So it basically guarantees the hit of every Scavenging Demise that comes out, as long as you know how to time your shattering rocks correctly. And for our traits on our jewelry, we're running all infused weapon damage traits here. On our armor, we're running in pen with a light waist, in pen boots, in pen legs, and in pen hands here. These 3 are medium, 1 light, so 3 medium, 1 light, and then 3 heavy. Our heavy pieces here will be reinforced, and they're all prismatic lists as well, so keep that in mind. And for our one piece here, I chose from Baron here for the extra sustain it gives. If you want more damage, you can run a one piece monster set that gives you penetration instead if you want the most overall damage in your build. But I just prefer this because I like the extra sustain that it gives. For our skills here, we're running Molten Whip. This is just the bread and butter of a DK. Nothing else to be said here. Great skill. Shattering Rocks, already went over this. It cannot be blocked or dodged, so this is amazing synergy with our set here, Scavenging Demise. Noxious Breath here. This is what allows us to proc Scavenging Demise more easily, since that's our main source of critical poison damage will come from our Noxious Breath, so just keep that in mind. Blood Craze here. This is to proc our Master Dual Wield. And I chose to run Blood Craze, not the other morph, just simply because I enjoy the 1100 health that this ability gives you. Ability does damage, so it's just a nice bit of healing. You can run the other morph instead if you want. I just prefer to run Blood Craze for the additional healing because I like the extra survivability it gives me. And then Flames of Oblivion here. This gives us Major Prophecy and Savagery, increasing your spell and weapon critical rating by 2700. This is a must, and this is a nice little dot as well, dealing 6500 flame damage to your opponent whenever it procs every 5 seconds. Ferocious Leap here. I chose this morph because of the damage shield. You can run the other morph if you want for more damage and a cheaper ultimate cost. Either morph is good. It just comes down to personal preference, and choose whatever ultimate you're more comfortable with. Rat here, Race Against Time. This gives us Minor Force, Major Expedition, and removes all snares and grants us immunity to mobilizations for 4 seconds. This is our mobility skill and pretty much a must so you can get around the map more easily without just getting CC'd and snared to death and run down by all the little zerglings. Degeneration here, I chose to run this over Molten Weapons here just simply because I like the added dot that this gives. Even though this cost is technically more Magicka, I think the dot makes it worth it. That's just my personal preference. Just more pressure, more damage is always a good thing. Resolving Vigor. This gives us a massive heal over time and also gives us minor resolve, increasing our physical and spell resistance by 3000 for 20 seconds. Coagulating Blood. Nice 10k heal that increases up by 50% based on your missing health. So when you're low, this thing can heal for a truck ton, giving you a lot of good survivability. And then Volatile Armor here. I chose this morph over the shield morph, just simply because I prefer the dot. Once again, it gives you the more pressure and dots you can put onto your opponent, the more they have to cleanse to get all their negative effects off of them. And it's just nice to have dots on your opponents to keep up the pressure as much as humanly possible. And then probably the best ultimate in the entire game, Corrosive Armor. This basically allows all your direct damage to ignore physical and spell resistance, giving you an insane 12-second window where you can absolutely pump the damage and just obliterate your opponents. I should also mention we are running tripods on this build, and we are running maces here. If you were going to only use Corrosive Armor, I would recommend swapping off maces and running something like swords or something just to get more overall damage, but I still think maces are worth running, just simply because if you're running the leap ultimate, then maces will just give you more damage consistently and more damage overall. For our blue CP, we're running Ironclad, Mastered Arms, Deadly Aim, and Untamed Aggression. This gives us the most overall damage. In Ironclad, this is generally too good to pass up, since it reduces all our damage taken basically by 6%, since like 90% of the damage in this game is direct damage. This is a massive survivability boost, so Ironclad is pretty much a must. Onto our red tree here, running Fortify, Sustained by Suffering, Pain Refuge, and Relentless. If you want, you can sub out Relentless here for Celerity for more movement speed, or you can even get Survival Instinct here for more sustain. Totally up to you, but I like Relentlessness just simply because it gives me some extra survivability when I get stunned or feared, reducing my damage taken by 10%. For a green tree here, I recommend Warman, Gifted Rider, Rasher, and Liquid Efficiency. So the way you want to play this build is relatively simple. You want to make sure you have Vigor, Volatile Armor, hit your opponent so the dot's on, then hit them with the Disintegration, Rock Race Against Time to get the Minor Force up, and then you want to switch to your front bar, dot them up with the Noxious Breath, hit them immediately with the Blood Craze, and then you want to go into Flames of Oblivion and then just whip. And then once everything is procced, you just wait for your little boy to spawn, and once he spawns, you go for the Shattering Rocks like that. You go for the Shattering Rocks whip combo, and you can just kill people straight off that. This does an insane amount of damage. Scavenging Demise does an insane amount of damage, especially with the dual passive, where you get increased 15% damage to all stunned, immobilized, or disoriented enemies. This just enhances your damage tenfold, as you see here. Fully procced up, our Scavenging Demise does 21,000 here, so that's doing an additional 15% damage if they're rooted or stunned. And on top of that, you're hitting them for a nice whip, and then you have a bunch of dots proccing all at the same time. And Scavenging Demise has a 30% chance to crit. If you get a double crit with your whip and Scavenging Demise, your enemies just evaporate, and the burst is pretty nasty. You can also add a leap in there for good measure. Just make sure you keep up your dots as much as possible, and don't let your buff drops at any time. If you have any questions regarding the build, I'd be happy to answer anything down in the comments below. And with that, I hope you did enjoy the video.